Hi, I'm Arnie Skelton, and each week in this podcast series, I'm going to offer you my top 10 tips on particular topics or themes that might be of interest to you as a teacher or manager or both. Hi, and welcome to this week's podcast. Now, we're in the middle of COVID-19 with a lot of people working from home, and a few people have asked me why it is that although people are working from home and therefore much more in control of their own time, they still feel that they're now working longer hours, longer days at home than they would be at work. And why is this? So I'm devoting this week's top 10 tips to examining why it is that a lot of people, when working from home, are actually having a longer working day. So this is about why home working leads to a longer working day. And tip number one involves travel. Of course, when you're working in your office away from home, you have to travel from home to work, and that can take quite a few minutes or even hours to do that. So when you're working at home, you're really just travelling from your bedroom to wherever you're basing your office in the house, to the dining room or to the kitchen or the study, wherever. So there is no real travelling time. So that time that you'd spend typically travelling, you're now probably spending working. So if you get yourself ready, as you would normally do, to leave the house at, 7:30 to be in work for 8:30, then you're ready at 7:30 and you probably start working. Or at the very least start thinking about working. Maybe make one or two calls or look at your social media, which you perhaps wouldn't be doing if you're driving. So we now convert a lot of that travel time into actual work time when we're at home. And tip number two, at work in the office, we are very often reactive. Our day is often driven by other people. Phone calls, people popping their head round the door, going to meetings. The day is pretty much shaped by other people. At home, that's perhaps less so. You're much more in control of your own destiny, and you're therefore perhaps a bit more proactive, filling the gaps that otherwise don't exist at work. So you probably don't have the same amount of downtime or interruption or being driven by other people. And what that means is that you start being more proactive. You think, well, I could be getting on with this, and I could be getting on with that, and I could be getting on with the other, and you're not distracted. There are no interruptions. So you have more time to do more things than perhaps you would do at work. So at work, you're perhaps more reactive, and at home you're a bit more proactive, and that just means you have more capacity of your own non-interrupted time to get on with jobs. Tip number three, there's no naturally occurring staff contact. You're very much on your own. Now, different people react differently to that. Some people quite like it, just being on your own all day. Some people don't. But if you are on your own all day, you get on more with what it is you have to do. There's no natural staff contact. People aren't just, chatting, meeting you around a water cooler, just passing the time of day. That natural social interaction, which many of us miss, actually fill a considerable part of the working day when you're at work, because that's where social interaction happens. So all of that means a lack of staff contact means you're on your own, getting on with work. Tip number four, there's an opportunity, at least in your head, to catch up on things that you don't get done at work. You may have some projects that you want to work on at work, but somehow never seem to find the time to do. Maybe at home, you can do that. It's an opportunity to catch up, an opportunity to move on with new projects or work that you've always had on your potential to-do list or nice to do that you can now find the time to do. So maybe you're doing more of the stuff you would neglect in the office. Tip number 5, new technology. A lot of people, that includes me, have really embraced the new technology that COVID-19 requires. If I'm working from home and want to speak to people or run a workshop, then I have to use the technology to do that. So my job is basically training. And that means that most of the time before COVID-19, I would be on site doing that. Now I'm online doing that. And I think that's true for most of us. We're now doing things online that we wouldn't otherwise have done. And that means we have to use new technology, which means we have to get used to new technology, which all takes time. For example, I'm preparing to run workshops, and in running workshops using, for example, Zoom, I have to learn how Zoom works. I have to learn how easily it can go wrong if I'm interacting with other people using that technology. And that all takes time and adds to the day. So whilst I might be running a 90-minute workshop, and if I was working in my previous style of just turning up on site and running the session, now I have to set up the technology. I have to check it, make sure it works. I have to help other people who use that technology in joining me. All of that just takes time. Tip number 6. A lot of people do not like the isolation that comes with working from home. And in some cases, that means they're a little bit more needy being isolated than they would be in the ebb and flow of social interaction at work. And we, if our managers, may feel that we need to keep in touch with our staff more because we, in a sense, are sensitive to that isolation and potential neediness. So we may go out of our way to contact people more in isolation than we do in the naturally occurring, socially rich world of office work. So you might think, well, I better call Fred, or better call Jean, or better call Eric, or better call Fiona, because they're on their own in their own home, and they may value me just talking to them. And of course that's fabulous that you do that, but it takes time. You make effort to make contact, perhaps more in the home environment than you would in the work environment. Tip number 7. At work, there is often a set time when most people are in. Even if you have flexi time, there'll be a core time, let's say 10 till 4, when everybody is in the one place. This isn't true when people work from home. People have different time windows for work. So somebody may be working, I don't know, they get up at 6 and then think, right, I'm going to end my work day at 2, or may have a bit of a lie-in and then work from, say, 10 till, I don't know, 6 or 7 o'clock. People also have family commitments, so they'll agree that they're going to take their kids to the park. And that wouldn't happen normally in the office, but it happens at home. So people have different time windows. So your day, if you're managing staff who all have a different time window, is a longer day. You know, you can catch Eric at 8 o'clock and you catch Samantha at 7 o'clock in the evening. It's less concentrated. People spread out their working day much more than if you have what used to be called a 9 to 5 working experience. So because people have different time windows, the day extends. And tip number 8, it's a boundary-less day. We know when people are in work and when people are not. So when they're not in work, we leave them alone, by and large. And when we're not in work, we tend to regard that as home time. We talk about a work-life balance as if there's work and then there's life, like non-work. But in fact, when we're working from home, we don't have boundaries. It's difficult to just stand down at 5 o'clock if you're busy doing something. Typically, the cleaners might start coming round, emptying bins, other people are leaving, your colleagues are no longer there to chat to, so you go home as well. That may not happen around 5 o'clock for most people working from home. And if you're a manager listening to this, it might be worthwhile saying to your team, institute boundaries. We're going to work 9:30, 4:30, whatever that is, that we don't contact each other beyond 9:30, before 9:30 or after 4:30. Institute the boundaries of work into the home space. Tip number 9. I've left this quite late, but it's probably the most obvious one. Many of us working from home are in the company of family. And the family who don't expect you to be there now do. And so you have perhaps more family responsibilities through the day that you wouldn't otherwise have when you're working at work. So it's difficult to say no to your 4 or 5-year-old who comes running in while you're on Zoom, who wants to show you, his Lego helicopter. It's hard, and I don't know if this is the case for you, but I've had meetings where, quite delightfully, people I'm talking with on the program, have their child on their knee, or the child comes in and interrupts daddy or mummy with what it is they want to ask or do. And I think in the first week or two we were all a little bit coy about that. Now it's much more common. People say, oh, by the way, this is my son, this is my daughter. It's just part of working from home, but it is disruptive, interruptive, and I'm not really sure whether it's bad or a good thing. I think it's probably a good thing that we're connected in and with our family whilst working, and the family see what we're doing. I think there's some real pluses from that, but it can mean that you're spending time with your family that you wouldn't spend if you're at work. And so if you spend, let's say, park time, walking time, cycling time, eating time, baking time, playing time in the working day, then many of us feel, well, because we've spent, 2-3 hours with family at home that we wouldn't ordinarily do, we better catch that up at sort of 6, 7, 8 o'clock tonight. And there you are. There's your extended day. And tip number 10, and this is drift. Now, many of you in the normal pre-COVID-19 days would attend meetings at work. And you know how it goes. It should start at 10 o'clock, but people often arrive late, and so it doesn't start till maybe 10 past 10. That's drift. What was scheduled for 10 o'clock doesn't start till 10 past 10. Or we thought we'd only spend 15 minutes on this item, but it drifts into 20 or 25. That's drift. I think drift happens a lot at home. We don't have the work discipline in the same way. So we think we're going to give ourselves half an hour on something, but there's nobody pulling us away from this task anymore. There's not another meeting to go to, so we drift on with the work that we would otherwise do more efficiently, perhaps, in the office. And going back to new technology and Zoom, I spend a lot of time now on Zoom doing workshops. And that's, let's say I call a workshop for 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, I've never had a workshop yet that started on time. People leave it in a sense till the last minute, and why wouldn't you, to log on to Zoom, but then they find that the signal is a bit weak, or they've forgotten since the last time they came onto Zoom how it all works. And so I now know that if I've called a 2 o'clock Zoom start time, it's probably going to be 5 past, because people will zoom in quite against the last minute, and there will just be some technological glitch. If I say to people, can you just open the chat box, they'll say, what? Where's the chat box? And then I spend, 30 seconds or so explaining how to get the chat box on the screen. And then they'll say, I don't, I can hear you, but I can't see you. And I then say, well, is it possible because you haven't switched the video on? Oh, where is that? And it's fine because everybody's learning, aren't they? It's new technology and it's great. And I think people will use Zoom or Skype much more than they've ever done when we all return to, quotes, the new normal. But for now, using and setting up new technology just takes time that we perhaps don't allow for. So those are my top 10 reasons why home working extends the day. Just to run through them again. There's no travel time. We tend to be more proactive at home than we might be at work. Because there's no natural staff contact, we feel perhaps obligated to either talk to staff, or in this particular case, we just because we're not disrupted, we get on with things more. And tip number 4 is there's the opportunity perhaps in our heads to get on with things that we don't often get on with at work. So we start to work on our special projects or things that have been on our to-do list for a while. And so we do more and more of that, which extends the day. Tip 5 is we have to get used to new technology, which takes time. 6, we have or we don't want to have needy colleagues, so we spend time contacting people deliberately that would naturally take place if we were in the ebb and flow of the office. So we make time to talk to people that we don't need to do when we're in the office. And tip number 7, everyone's working on a different time window. Tip number 8, it's a boundaryless day. We don't necessarily think of working 9:30 to 4:30, and we haven't necessarily set that up with our colleagues. Tip number 9 is that family and friends are there with us, and we should and have to spend time with them, and that extends the day. And tip number 10 is there is drift, particularly driven by the new technology of setting things up. Things rarely start on time when new technology is involved. So I hope that gives you some ideas as to why your day is longer perhaps at home than it is at work. And thanks for listening. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe. You will still get the podcast for free, but you will also get an alert to let you know when the next podcast is available. And please recommend the podcast to anyone else you think might like it and benefit from it. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review and any other comment, because they'll help promote the podcast series on the relevant platform. So, bye for now.